Yeah. Well, I was over in the Philippines. I've just returned to it. I was there with, we were invited over, myself and Jonathan Powell, who was Tony Blair's Chief of Staff during the negotiations to do with the North here. We were invited over basically because there's peace talks going on there. They had come to a critical point. There was a breakdown in the talks. They were just about to sign really what amounted to the territorial part of an agreement between the Philippine government and the Bangsamoro people, or the MILF, which is the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, which have been fighting for a considerable number of years. And basically the talks broke down because after the agreement was initialed, the Supreme Court declared in the Philippines that they were unconstitutional. So there's a considerable vacuum there, and we were asked over to talk about our experiences in the North and the troubles between Britain and Ireland over centuries, to see if there was any lessons which they could learn. We, of course, made it very clear that what we could do is talk about the situation here and how we moved from conflict into negotiations, a peace process, and into setting up political institutions. And we couldn't really give advice on what was happening over there, but if there was anything which was of advantage, then we were delighted to be there. It was a fairly intensive period of a few days. We spoke to all the negotiating teams, and there are a series of negotiating teams connected to the Philippine government. So we met the chief executive, basically, of their government and their negotiators, and we then travelled down and arrived at the camp down in the south in Mindanao Island, where we met the MILF Central Committee and spoke to their negotiators as well about how things that happened there. I suppose in the end, the messages we were given, they were quite long conversations, but I suppose if you were to encapsulate the messages, it is, even though they were in a bad situation, that contact should never entirely be broken off, that they were close to an agreement, which means it is capable to have an agreement and they must pursue that, and always that there should be dialogue. And I suppose in the end that's the core of what we said. We described that many times our own negotiations had broken down, or that vacuums had been created, that sometimes those vacuums can only be filled with military activity, and that was a bad situation in any circumstances if you're in a conflict transformation circumstance. I mean, for people who don't know, the Bangsamoro people are the original inhabitants of the Philippines. They are mostly, although not entirely, mostly based down in the Mindanao, the southern island, but they are now only 5% of the overall Philippine population because of the facts of, I suppose, basically over the centuries, colonialism, whether that was Spanish or American colonialism. And we came away, I think, with the view, both of us, that both sides want to put this process back together again. We were fairly optimistic when we came away, and we would hope that we'd be able to do that. When it broke down, 3 of, I think, the 19 commanders went back to hostilities for a short period of time, but while we were there, things were fairly calm. So we're getting more and more requests in these circumstances to get nearly both sides of the situation between Britain and Ireland during that our whole period of conflict and conflict transformation, and we're delighted to at least give our experiences and see if they are of some value. Clearly you can't take one even conflict transformation process, never mind a conflict or a struggle, and put it top of another in a different part of the world, but there are certain lessons, I think, which go beyond the locality of any particular conflict, or for that matter, any particular peace process.